Hello all, I am Azara Wadia, an Indian Parsi belonging to the Zoroastrian Parsi community, which is an enduring minority of Zoroastrians from Iran who have made their home in India for almost a millennium. Not only we have assimilated into the Indian society but also retained our unique traditions. We Parsis, who are descended from Zoroastrians in Persia, today's Iran, fled to India during the Arab conquest of Iran and increasing Islamic persecution on us. The Parsi epic, Qissa-i-Sanjan, written in the 1600s, recounts how we came from Greater Iran and kept moving to the Indian subcontinent between the 8th and 10th centuries. According to our tradition, the Parsis initially settled at Hormuz on the Persian Gulf, but finding themselves still persecuted, they set sail for India. Arriving in the 8th century, the migration may in fact have taken place as late as the 10th century. They settled first at Du in Kathiawar but soon moved to Gujarat, where they remained for about 800 years as a small agricultural community. Thanks to the welcome and promise of protection provided from a local Hindu king, they eventually settled in what is now the state of Gujarat, in India. So today let me narrate to you this untold story about this ancient community. So let's get started. So first let me tell you of how Jade Rana, the native ruler, and the newly arrived immigrants first met. According to the Parsi legend that went like this: when the Zoroastrians sought refuge, King Jade Rana, who didn't know the language they were speaking but understood what they sought, waved a full milk jug to show that his kingdom was full. The Zoroastrian priests responded by adding a little sugar to the milk, a symbol that they wouldn't fill the jar to the brim but would still improve people and the king's subjects' lives. Jade Rana, impressed by the witty answer, then provided a safe haven for the refugees, provided that they learned the local language, Gujarati, and that the women dressed like the natives, who wore the sari. Sanjan, presumed to be named after the city of origin, was founded by the refugees after they agreed to the terms. Within 5 years of the initial group, a second group, also from Greater Khorasan, arrived, this time bringing religious artifacts, the Alat, with them. 2 centuries after their landing, the Parsis began to settle in other parts of Gujarat, which led to difficulties in defining the limits of priestly jurisdiction. These problems were resolved by 1290 through the division of Gujarat into 5 panthaks, districts, each under the jurisdiction of one priestly family and their descendants. From the 13th century to the late 16th century, the Zoroastrian priests of Gujarat sent, in all, 22 requests for religious guidance to their co-religionists in Iran. Following the commercial treaty in the early 17th century between Mughal Emperor Jahangir and James I of England, the East India Company obtained the exclusive rights to reside and build factories in Surat and other areas. Many Parsis, who until then had been living in farming communities throughout Gujarat, moved to the English-run settlements to take the new jobs offered. In 1668, the English East India Company leased the 7 islands of Bombay from Charles II of England. The company found the deep harbour on the east coast of the islands to be ideal for setting up their first port in the subcontinent, and in 1687 they transferred their headquarters from Surat to the fledgling settlement. The Parsis followed and soon began to occupy posts of trust in connection with government and public works. The Parsis' circumstances altered radically, for they were in some ways more receptive of European influence than the Hindus or Muslims, and they developed a flair for commerce. Bombay came under the control of the East India Company in 1668, and since complete religious toleration was decreed soon afterward, The Parsis from Gujarat began to settle there. The expansion of the city in the 18th century owed largely to our industry and ability as merchants. By the 19th century we were manifestly a wealthy community, and from about 1850 onward they had considerable success in heavy industries, particularly those connected with railways and shipbuilding. Now coming to our traditions and religious practices. Our religion is called Zoroastrianism, which is one of the world's oldest monotheistic religions. Founded by the prophet Zoroaster in ancient Persia, it emphasizes the worship of Ahura Mazda, the supreme deity, the importance of good thoughts, words, and deeds, and the veneration of the elements, particularly fire. Our religious beliefs is based on the concept of times purity and pollution, times the balance between good and evil is correlated to the idea of purity and pollution. Purity is held to be of the very essence of godliness. Pollution's very point is to destroy purity through the death of a human. In order to adhere to purity, it is the duty of Parsis to continue to preserve purity within their body as God created them. A Zoroastrian priest spends his entire life dedicated to following a holy life. Now talking about our sacred fire temples, known as agyaris or Behrams, are at the core of Parsi religious practice. The sacred fire, which represents purity and divinity, is continuously maintained in these temples. Zoroastrian festivals were originally held outside in the open air. Temples were not common until later. Most of the temples were built by wealthy Parsis who needed centers that housed purity. As stated before, fire is considered to represent the presence of Ahura Mazda, and there are two distinct differences for the types of fire for the different temples. The first type of temple is the Behram, which is the highest level of fire. The fire is prepared for an entire year before it can be installed, and once it is cared for to the highest possible degree. There are only 8 such temples located within India. Zoroastrians are not initiated by infant baptism. A child is initiated into the faith when they are old enough to enter into the faith when they are old enough to recite some required prayers along with the priest at the time of the Navjot ceremony, ideally before they hit puberty. During the ceremony, the child is invested with the kusti, a sacred thread, and taught to recite prayers. This marks their formal entry into the Zoroastrian faith. Talking about our weddings, which involves Agyari wedding, in which many Parsi weddings take place in a fire temple. Agyari, the sacred fire, symbolizes the presence of divinity during the ceremony. The bride and groom exchange vows while standing before the fire. The wedding attire includes Parsi brides often wearing a traditional Parsi wedding sari, which features intricate embroidery and motifs. Grooms typically wear a traditional Parsi wedding attire known as a dugli or dagli. The funerals, which involves sky burial. Dokmayashani, the Parsi funeral ritual, is distinctive, emphasizing the purity of the elements. The deceased's body is placed on a raised structure called a dokman and exposed to scavenger birds, primarily vultures. This practice avoids earth or water pollution. Towers of silence. The dokman is located in a structure known as the Tower of Silence, which is designed to facilitate this natural decomposition process. Now talking about our syncretic culture, Parsis in India primarily speak Gujarati, which is the regional language of Gujarat. However, English is also widely used for communication, especially in urban areas and professional settings. Our delicious cuisine includes dhansak. Dhansak is a popular Parsi dish, a hearty stew made with lentils and meat, usually mutton or chicken. It's served with brown rice and is known for its sweet and spicy flavors. Spatrani machi, This dish consists of fish marinated in a tangy chutney and wrapped in banana leaves before being steamed or baked. It's a delicacy often served during special occasion. Sali boti. Sali boti is a spicy mutton curry garnished with crispy potato sticks. Sali. It's a flavorful and aromatic dish. For further cultural preservation, the Parsi community has established organizations like the Parsi Panchayat to preserve their cultural heritage and promote Zoroastrianism. These organizations also provide support to community members. The Parsi community in India is relatively small, estimated at around 60,000 to 70,000 individuals as of my last knowledge update in September 2021. Concerns have arisen due to a declining birth rate, leading to initiatives to encourage Parsi couples to have more children and sustain the community's future. Some of the most famous people from our Parsi community include Ardeshir Godrej. He and his brother Piroj Shah Burjoji co-founded the Godrej Brothers Company, today the Godrej Group. Sir Dorabji Tata, the founder of Tata Steel and a noted philanthropist. Homi Jahangir Bhabha, the father of India's nuclear program and the first chairman of Indian Atomic Energy Commission. Jamsetji Tata, industrialist and the founder of the Tata Group of Companies. Dadabhai Naoroji, economist and political activist, first to publicly demand independence for India. The Parsi community's history, traditions, and culture are deeply rooted in their religious beliefs and unique customs, and they continue to maintain their identity while contributing to the diverse tapestry of Indian society. Although like several other communities in India, we too have come of foreign ancestry, but now when someone asks us about home, the first and only thought that comes to our mind is India. We have loved our country deeply, and we have done as much contribution to this land, let it be fighting for the freedom of this country or being a part in contributing to the social and economical upliftment of this country. We are a true example of community to prove that indeed the witty reply by the Zoroastrian priest of the simile of Parsis being compared to sugar added to the milk as an answer. Indeed we are happy and elated that we could do so much for this nation. Thank you for being patient listeners. This is signing off, Azara Wadia. For more such informative, untold stories please subscribe our channel. For you it's just a click of the button, and no loss, but for us it is an encouragement to keep telling you more untold stories. Thank you.